views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hey there, welcome to the Bronx Buzz. This is BronxNet's program where we talk to writers and editors and journalists and photographers and videographers, really anybody who puts stuff out in the borough of the Bronx. And this evening we got a really interesting and different sort of show because what we're putting out is not news, is comic books. What? Comic books. And also we have an author who put out a book that is going to interest especially people who are interested in rap and hip hop music. But let's get started with H. German, who is a comic book creator, writer, author, artist. I don't know if we put it all into one bag. H, nice to have you with us.
Hello, Gary. Hello, comic book fans.
There you go. Tell me about, now let's see, I want to get it right. It is Calico, Volume 1, The Pinup Gallery. That's the comic book.
That's it.
We're going to talk about that specifically, but let's just talk about you. How did you get started? What was your interest? Did it show up one day, or were you always interested in creating comics? Give us the whole background.
Well, I love comic books. I was born here in the Bronx, and Bronx original, and comic books were seminal to my American story. I'm a first generation Dominican American, and frankly, learning the language was aided immensely by my reading of comic books. And of those, it was Spider-Man, the Hulk, the X-Men, and Batman, of course. Just wonderful vocabulary building through comic books.
I shared with you, of course, I'm a little older than you are, but many years ago, growing up in the Bronx, of course, we were really into DC comics, and Marvel comics were like the later edition.
Right.
But so that meant Superman, the Justice League, and Batman, and all that. And my parents were concerned because I wasn't really reading books, but I was reading comic books. And while, of course, English is my first language, I also found it was easy to absorb because it had the pictures right there.
Right.
And for somebody learning the language, I guess that would be the help, right?
Absolutely. The visual medium and aided by just truly compelling and action-packed vocabulary.
Were you an artist? Like, did you always say, "Hey, I could draw one of them," or did you kind of like say one day, maybe I ought to try?
Right. So as a kid, I always had a pencil, crayons in my hand. I was very creative. So I was very fortunate to have parents that cultivated that creativity. So yes, I was always drawing, doodling, cartooning. Yeah.
And did you say, I'm sorry, we're going to go as deep into this as we can. Did you say to yourself, I don't know, at the age of 10, 12, 14, I'm going to be a comic book creator one day? Or did you realize, like, you know what? Maybe I ought to put this to comic books.
Well, there was no thinking. I was just doing. I remember creating comic books as a kid. My upbringing was not only here in the Bronx, but also in the Dominican Republic. So I grew up in the North Bronx, Italian neighborhood called Pelham Bay, back in the 80s. And it was very different from the Dominican Republic, where I grew up in the North as well, in the Dominican Republic, in the Ciudad region. And in both places, I was drawing comic books, and it's something that I didn't really think about, but I was doing it, and always share it with the kids, and both audiences approved.
I hate to go here, but we got to go here as we get out of the pandemic, and young people in schools need things to do to re-engage them because they've been so distracted and so turned off by staring at a screen. Isn't it a good idea for us to teach these kinds of things because it gives kids a chance to fantasize, to express? And then I guess I have to ask tangentially, is that also something you got through school, or was it extracurricular?
Well, Gary, that's a great point. Here we're in the middle of this malady, this enormous pandemic situation. It's just terrible. It's caused so much problem to the family unit. So growing up in a sort of poor area in the Dominican Republic, when I was there, we had this, I wouldn't say in terms of the death rate, but in terms of the social impact, absolutely similar types of things, because we would have days-long power outages on a regular basis.
Oh.
We couldn't, in other words, we couldn't enjoy the everyday thing conveniences that people have. So we would have to invent or create things for us to keep ourselves busy, right? As
Wow.
kids. So we had these sort of, community level engagements, which involve, doing things like the arts, crafts, gaming outside. So yeah, I mean, this is why it's so important to the audience out there. Funding the arts is so important.
It's got to happen.
You got to have it.
Yeah, and right now more than ever before. Okay, so you and I will do a quick hand raising. You can be the new chancellor of the schools. Let's get this done. Let's fund it. And we'll make it happen. Anyway, let's really talk about the new comic book. I got a chance to look through it. Calico, Volume 1, the Pinup Gallery. Talk to me about the creation of this. The theory, which I know about, and I'm sure you're going to talk about, is fascinating and interesting. And then, of course, it's translated into a very visual, strong superhero type character. So let's go through the creation of it.
Right. So this is an idea I had as early as 2009. I've always been working in marketing and technology. Okay, and I've written lots of different articles, mostly business to technology. And so on the side, I sort of wrote some things for myself, and of course, the comic book background I had, all the way from childhood into teens. And I got this idea back again in 2009 for this animal lover, this guy that really was passionate about animals, and he just was fed up with the typical ways to fight animal abuse and fight for animal rights, the protests, the hand holding and the song singing and all that stuff. That wasn't doing it for him. So I started putting pen to paper, and this guy's his sort of vantage to solving the problem is strikingly different to the way most people were going about this. And it turned into a pretty interesting few paragraphs. And I just left it there. And early in the pandemic, a friend of mine got a book deal. And we had a little socially distanced celebration in the park, and to celebrate. And she said, hey, why don't you get involved in some creative stuff now that we're all shut down here in quarantine? And I said, I have this idea that I sort of started back in the day. So I started writing it as a novel back in this was May of last year, 2020. Started writing it as a novel. So you do your outline and you start filling in chapters. So wait a minute. So I stopped myself. I said, this protagonist is kind of like a comic book character. I wonder if I start writing it as a comic book, see how that goes. Sure enough, I spent a couple of days on it. It definitely lends itself great to the medium, comic books. And the first thing I did, the first thing I said was, well, let me call my alma mater, School of Visual Arts in the city, SVA, and see if I can get, some cartoon, illustration guys to help me out with this, or gals. And I did a little research. Turns out one of the legendary artists in comic books, Klaus Janson, is on the faculty there. And
Wow.
This man was, he's responsible for legendary titles. The Dark Knight Returns. He worked with Frank Miller. I mean,
Right.
on Daredevil.
And so you engaged him in this process.
Reached out to him, and of course, this man's a legend. I wasn't expecting to hear from him or maybe at all. A week later, I'm at a barbecue in Brooklyn. I get an email from Klaus Janson. Hey, let's chit chat about this. This, sounds pretty good. And the next day we were talking for a half hour. And he's given me guidance ever since. It's wonderful.
So, what is there a release of it? Has it been released? Is it going to be released? How do people get it? And I will tell you the visuals are powerful. Let's put it that way. And I have to tell you, even just reading the theme, and the materials that you had sent, the notion that somebody is against bullies and all that, this is all very contemporary stuff. I mean, this is where it translates in a young person's mind, can maybe learn something. And it's a fantastical sort of thing, but this is where you move us all ahead, I suppose.
Right. We, Javier Orbic, the wonderful artist, and Garnabiel, really tag teaming on the cover and interior pages to, aid the concept of Calico. And we sort of formed that team to tell this story. It's a very important story, as you said. It's a very unique way to deliver this message. Typically we're hearing it in commercials. We're seeing protests and activism, but a character that personifies the fight against animal abuse. This is the first time that's happened. So, we're very proud. When I sit down and I write these issues, there's a tremendous sense of pride that takes over me when I write these stories. And it's really satisfying to attack this problem this way. And I know that there's a huge audience for it.
Well, I was going to, I'm always thinking about Bronx kids, and, we've already, alluded to the things that they've been through, but, they know in the back of their head, because they see it in front of them. They see it all the time about bullies. And even if the target, maybe they are animal rights people or not, but they get the sense this isn't the way to be. And, it stirs up the right sense of value, I think, I hope.
Right. Here's the thing, Gary. So this generation and the millennials and Generation ZY, they're not used to receiving the kind of messages that Gen X and up with these sugar-coated sort of,
that's right,
little flowers and rainbows about whether it's drugs or crime, alcohol. We got these PSA announcements that were very sugar-coated. Okay. Yeah. So we
only have about a minute, so I want to make sure that we
sure.
And what you're saying is totally true. So right. How do people ingest?
We're hitting them with gut punches right to the solar plexus. We're not going or tippy-toeing around. Calico does not tippy-toe. He goes right through the front.
And how do you get it? You just look it up on the web, or what do you do?
StigmaComics.com. We do have a Kickstarter that's going to end in about a day or two. So you can go to Kickstarter, type in "Here Comes Calico," but go to StigmaComics.com and support us that way. You're going to love this comic book.
Sigma Comics. And you engaged them. They came to you. You went to them and said, "I got this product."
Well, that's our company.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. That's where you get.
This is the new world. You don't have to call up Mr. DC and say, "Hey, could you publish my comic?" We do it ourselves. Listen, H.H. German, congratulations on the comic. As things develop, we want to have you back. And really, Bronxites doing great work like this. That's what BronxNet Television is about. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. H.H. German, the comic book is Calico, Volume 1. Make sure you check it out. There's going to be 8, right? 8.
That's right. Thank you, comic book fans. StigmaComics.com.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk hip hop, and we're going to talk to an author who is talking about Bronx roots, just like we just did. We'll be right back.